Welcome to EPG Pathshala and myself Dr. Sutapa Sinha. I am from Department of Islamic History and Culture, University of Calcutta, and going to share with you the module on the Mughal to late Mughal style of architecture in India, which expanded from 1628 to 1858. The Mughal style reached in this period its zenith, its peak, and during the reign of Shah Jahan, that is from 1628 to 1658. His beautiful capital cities of Agra and Delhi, all we know about it, and he beautified these capital cities of Agra and Delhi with splendid palaces and magnificent monuments. Numerous elegant buildings we find which was built during this period was at Ajmer, Lahore, Srinagar and other places in the Indian subcontinent. The late Mughal style is also called Shah Jahan style after his name, and this is an age we can say as marble buildings. This is Lahori Gate, which is presently in Pakistan, but it is a magnificent gateway to the fort of Lahore. The transition of early Mughal style of Akbar to late Mughal style of Shah Jahan was of course very sudden and was absolutely obvious. Shah Jahan's age is a period which is mostly the buildings are of marble, white marble, though we find considerable number of architecture which were built by red sandstone also. Technique of surface decoration took the form of artistic inlay of semi-precious stones and multicolored stones on marble, especially on white marble. There was definite advancement in the decorative carving in relief on sandstone and marble surfaces. We are talking about the general features of the Shahjahani architecture, not particularly of any particular group of building, but the general trend and general characteristic feature of the architectures. Those were built during the time of Shah Jahan, either by Shah Jahan himself or under the patronage of Emperor Shah Jahan. Structurally also the style has changed during this period. The curve of the arch assumed a multifoil shape or a multicast shape, as we can say. Pillars have now foliated bases, many-sided shafts and voluted bracket capitals adorn the pillars used in different buildings. Again we are coming back to Agra Fort. As we have mentioned while talking about the first module of early Mughal style, that most of the buildings which are standing today within Agra Fort were built during the time of Shah Jahan. So, therefore, within the fort, within the Agra Fort or the Red Fort, which is actually built of red sandstone, the building activities of during the time of Shah Jahan is represented by the buildings like Diwan-i-Am, the Khwabgah, the Shish Mahal, the Musamman Buruj, so on and so forth. Replacement or remodeling of earlier structures within this fort of Agra and Lahore have also been undertaken by Shah Jahan himself. Some of these architecture, as we have mentioned, they have also undergone subsequent restoration. That means even after the time of Shah Jahan, they have got restored and revived to some extent. A large group of marble building in Agra Fort includes, like as mentioned, Diwan-i-Am and Diwan-i-Khas, with most graceful double columns carrying multifoil arches. We can have a look of the buildings. This is the famous Diwan-i-Khas, built under the patronage of Shah Jahan within the Agra Fort or Red Fort. This is Diwan-i-Am, and on the both side there is one principal building, center building, which is flanked on its both sides by two buildings which have, we can see from the photograph, that which have a Bangla hut like roof, which are gilded in golden color. Here once again we can have a look of Shish Mahal. Shish Mahal has again that hut type or curvilinear roof with on the marble architecture or the marble building made of white marble, and inside the Shish Mahal profuse carving or the inlay work can be seen with the marble tiles that have been used for the floor. And this is the pavilion which is adjacent to Shish Mahal, outside the Shish Mahal, which is also built of white marble with the pillars having a specific base and the pillar capital with multicast arch. The Khash Mahal, which is also within this Red Fort, consisting of 3 marble pavilions of elegant form and design. A Bengali curvilinear cornice appears for the first time in North India outside Bengal in this monument. The Shish Mahal, the Nagina Masjid, the Musamman Burj, all are very elegant in shape and architectural merit. Remarkable for its chest decoration of inlay work and marble filigree work. Another architecture which we may say as the Mati Masjid, which was also built in typical Shah Jahan style, situated on an elevated platform on a red sandstone base, consists of usual open courtyard style surrounded by an arched corridor. The facade of Moti Masjid composed of 7 engrailed arches covered by 3 graceful domes of bulbous shape, surrounded by beautiful octagonal kiosks, one at each corner. Other than Agra Fort, new building projects have also been undertaken by Shah Jahan, which were not in Agra but in his newly built capital Shah Jahanabad in Delhi. Majestic Red Fort and the magnificent Jami Mosque are most notable one. The Red Fort with its palaces, halls, pavilions and gardens was completed in 1648, whereas the fort itself is an imposing structure of encircling massive walls. The walls are broken at intervals by boldly projecting bastions topped by domed kiosks. It entered Red Fort in Delhi, that was entered through 2 main gateways. One is called Delhi Gate and the other is called Lahori Gate. The more important are the Diwan-e-Am, the Mumtaz Mahal, the Rang Mahal and the Diwan-e-Khas, the Khwabgah, the Hammam and the Musamman Burj, as we have mentioned. Here we should also mention that name of the buildings, some of the buildings are very similar. I mean, it is similar, the Diwan-e-Am and Diwan-e-Khas we find in Fatehpur Sikri, in Red Fort Agra and also in Red Fort Delhi or in Shah Jahanabad. So we should not get confused with that, because these are the typical name of different categories of building, like Diwan-e-Am and Diwan-e-Khas, that is hall of public audience and hall of private audience, you can find everywhere, both in Red Fort Agra, Delhi and also in Fatehpur Sikri. So these are the repetitive names that we are talking about. The palace buildings, these are distinguished for their very symmetrical planning in Red Fort. An ornamental marble water canal, chutes and cascades are also been found. Structurally, these buildings are very fine examples of late Mughal style, which was developed under the leadership of Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan himself was a great architect of his period. Workmanship marks the rich and gorgeous decorations like Pietre Dura, as we have already seen in case of Itmat ad-Dawla's tomb, low relief marble carving in arabesques and flower motif in lustrous gold gilt. Diwan-e-Khas in Red Fort is most lavishly ornamented and richly embellished. Rang Mahal and other palaces similarly decorated. Traces of their original embellishment have survived till date. Here we can have a look of the Diwan-e-Khas, which is in the Red Fort, Shah Jahanabad, Delhi. This is the Rang Mahal in Delhi and built of white marble. but here we find I mean this building is not very richly carved on its outer side. There is another group of building which we have not mentioned yet, that is the hammams, the baths. The baths were mostly in Turkish style or Persian style, as these Mughal rulers, they have preferred the Turkish baths. So this is called hammams, and this is in the within the Red Fort area. You may see the square shaped tank, the floor of the hammam and the hammam building. This is a very picturesque image or photograph of Musamman Buruj, which is of course in Agra fort, not in Delhi, and from where you can have a view, very nice view of Taj Mahal, the famous Taj Mahal, about which we are going to talk about. So another remarkable feature of the Red Fort Delhi is it is the throne seat, the white marble and the black throne seat of the emperor, which has got a canopy like pavilion like structure, and it is set in vaulted resource in the back wall of the Diwan-e-Am, and actually throne seat where the emperor used to sit over. It was richly inlaid with precious stones, and the decoration on the wall of the throne seat consists of panels of pietre dura work. Another very prominent mosque in Delhi we should mention, that is the Jami Masjid or Jame Mosque in Delhi, which was completed in 1656, and one of the most impressive mosques in India. It was built in the usual style of an open courtyard with arched cloisters on three sides. The entire building is raised over a lofty basement. It has imposing gateways on its three sides, and at its four corners there are kiosks placed, which are 12-sided in diameter and surmounted by marble domes. The facade of the prayer hall of the Jami Masjid consists of 11 engrailed arches. That means it has 11 archways and entranced archways. It is of red sandstone along with white marble work on it, with two minarets, one at each end. Three elegant domes of white marble made this Jami Mosque an unique piece of architecture in Shah Jahan period. It is ornamented with strips of black stones, and it imparts beauty and dignity to the whole building. Here we can have a look of the fisheye vision of Jami Mosque in Delhi. This is a fisheye impression. The most important architecture of this period, and probably of the entire period of Indo-Islamic architectural history of India, we should mention about the great architectural achievement is the Taj Mahal at Agra, and it was built during 1647. It started in 1647-48. This was all we know. It was built by Shah Jahan for his beloved wife Mumtaz Mahal, who actually died in Burhanpur, and after 6 months her bodily remains were carried to Agra and to lay for the forever within this Taj Mahal mausoleum complex. Apart from its romantic appeal, the Taj is a masterpiece of architectural style in conception, treatment and execution. The conception, as usual, takes the form of a garden tomb. We have already mentioned about several garden tombs, started with Sikandra, the tomb of Akbar. Situated on the banks of Jamuna, it is enclosed only on three sides and have a huge entrance gateway on its east. So this is one of the 7 wonders of the world, the great Taj Mahal, and which is the masterpiece of Indian Indo-Islamic architecture, and built under the direct patronage of Shah Jahan. He brought architects from Persia and other parts of the world, and he himself worked on it. The solid foundation of Taj Mahal and the substructure of the Taj bear out the remarkable engineering skill. The terrace on the river front has been raised on well foundations with fillings of rubble masonry in between, while it is cased or faced by the finely dressed white marble. The majestic entrance gateway is a monument in itself. Its facade consists of a lofty vaulted arched recess set within a rectangular frame. Similar but smaller alcoves in 2 stories on each side that we find on the gateway. An octagonal turret surmounted by a domed pavilion at each corner of it, and the profuse inlay into the red sandstone surface and the elegantly executed inscriptions inlaid with black marble is another notable feature of this gateway of the Taj itself. The mausoleum itself is within 2 buildings of similar design, is placed within the 2 buildings of similar design on its 2 sides. A mosque on the west, being itself a monument of sufficient charm and beauty, and a replica of that mosque is on the other side of Taj, which was used as Mehman Khana for maintaining the symmetry. It was built for maintaining the symmetry. The 4 white marble minarets of Taj, rising in 4 stories and crowned by domes, stand majestically at the corners of the terrace and to the dignity of the entire setting. The facade of Taj Mahal is very nicely and exquisitely carved and ornamented by pietre dura work of different color of semi-precious stones like lapis lazuli, agate, carnelian, etc. And then again the spandrel of the arch is surrounded by the religious inscription, which is inscribed in black marble on the base of white marble, and it's in the elegant Arabic script called Nashq, and this language is of course Arabic. Unlike Persian language in other cases, this is a religious inscription. And the gateway itself, as we have mentioned, it is a very beautiful and elegant architecture of its own. It has a similarity with the Buland Darwaza of Fatehpur Sikri, and the mosque, the other 2 architecture that we have mentioned on 2 sides of the Taj Mahal is built on by red sandstone with white marble bulbous dome. We should also mention about the typical shape of the dome that was built especially during the period of Shah Jahan, is the bulbous dome with constricted neck. Architecturally, this mausoleum illustrates the building tradition of tomb architecture represented in Humayun's tomb and the tomb of Khanan in its final and most perfect form. And internally also it consists of an octagonal hall forming the cenotaph chamber. Each corner of inside have 2 storied compartments connected to each other by corridors. The perfectly shaped slightly bulbous dome placed in the center on a lofty drum. It is extremely elegant and Persian in character, as we have mentioned already. On each corner of the roof there are 4 pleasing cupolas, the smaller domes. Different parts have been combined to form a perfectly balanced composition. After Shah Jahan, we may say that decadence period have started, and the entire period, that is from the time of Aurangzeb till the later Mughal emperors, we have categorized it as the late to later Mughal period, and the entire era started with the time of Aurangzeb. So practically what we can say that the golden era of Mughal architecture ended with this period, and the period of unrestrained building activities under Shah Jahan that came to an end. Architectural art suffered a great setback both in regards to style and number of outstanding monuments, as it happened in case of other field of art or the cultural history, like in painting, textile and other things. So with the accession of Aurangzeb in 1658, the decadence period started in case of culture and art. This reaction was the result of natural phenomena that was usual in the history of fine arts. The later Mughal style representing this reaction is marked by distinct generation of architectural forms and design, deterioration of taste, lack of proportion and balance, etc. Yet we have some most important architectural monuments like the tomb of Rabia Daurani, which was built in about 1661 at Aurangabad in Deccan. It illustrates the general and rapid deterioration of brilliant late Mughal style. This was built by Aurangzeb in memory of his wife, and it is popularly known as Bibi Ki Maqbara. It was intended to build it as a replica of the Taj. Of course, it has a great architectural merit of itself. The thin engrailed arch, not so perfect bulbous dome is the characteristic feature of this monument. Cramped skyline with insufficient room for the corner chhatris, attenuated guldastas, that is the minaret top, and disproportionately heavy minars diminish the merit of this monument, rather gave it an air of mediocrity. But its confused stucco work is of very high order, and its garden was also very well planned. That has more or less made it an important architecture of Deccan during the period of Aurangzeb. Another mosque of note is the Moti Masjid in Red Fort in Delhi. Constructed by Aurangzeb in 1659-60, and it was constructed of best polished white marble. It is a chaste structure in which the delicacy of earlier craftsmanship has been retained in full form. Consists of a small open courtyard style enclosed on three sides by cloisters, and another typical feature of this small mosque is a carved eaves. The interior of the prayer hall of this mosque is very fine example of chaste ornament in marble. The three domes are too rounded in shape and lack the usual smoothness of the carve. The mosque was damaged during the mutiny, and therefore the present section of the domes does not represent the typical dome of the late Mughal period. So, with the death of Aurangzeb, Mughal authority underwent a rapid decline, as we all know that. The decadence in the field of architecture too became almost complete. The tomb of Safdarjung at Delhi is of considerable architectural merit, even it was built during this period. Therefore, we would like to mention about this tomb of Safdarjung, which is last in the tradition of great square mausoleum and of Charbagh garden. Stands on a very large arcaded square terrace. The tomb proper is a double-storied building, and it is with a large centrally arched archway with small flanking ones on the either sides. There are 4 engaged turrets which have got kiosks at the corners, and it is overall capped by a bulbous central dome. It combines the usual architectural elements to be found in a Mughal tomb, and its resemblance, of course, to the Taj Mahal is quite striking. Perhaps this similarity was incidental because of the corner turrets that we find here, the use of corner turrets. It does suffer in comparison with the earlier Mughal tombs, but it is a monument of considerable charm and architectural appeal because of its grand conception and judicious blending of fine proportions of the architectural element of the monument, different architectural members and element of the monument. On the whole, the tomb of Safdarjung may provide us an elegant example or a best example to finish the story of Indo-Islamic architecture in India. So, to sum up the whole thing, the whole modules, 2 modules on Mughal architecture, which is of course the very important part of the Indo-Islamic architectural style, we may say that even with the decadence in the 17th century, in the end of 17th century, the whole style or the whole school of architecture under the later Mughals came to an end, but yet it had great impact on the architectural history as a whole. Actually, what happened, as the power distributed among the regional kingdoms, the trend of culture or trend of architectural schools also distributed among these places, and therefore even if we don't see that important architectural monuments in case of Delhi or Agra, but we find the emergence of different sub-regional schools, like one in Awadh, which is Lucknow. We find a similar thing in Hyderabad for the Nizams. We find Nawabi School of Architecture in Murshidabad in Bengal, so on and so forth. And we should also mention about the Rajasthani architecture. When these regional school of architecture, they have actually assimilated the entire features of the Mughal style and the late Mughal style, and gave birth to a new school or new genre of sub-imperial architecture as a whole. So, whatever may be the reason for the decadence of the later Mughal style, we cannot underestimate the impact of the Mughal style and later Mughal style of architecture to the overall Indo-Islamic architectural school or architectural history of India. So, here we might finish the module for the present, and if you need any further reference, you can have a look of the EPG text as well as the other modules for your reference, ready references for further reading, as well as the glossaries for to understand the typical architectural terminology and the time frame and the time brackets to understand properly the development of the architectural school, right from the Sultanate period, emergence of the Sultanate period and Sultanate school of architecture, then its gradual and elaborate procession towards the later period, which once again gave a kind of new school of Mughal architecture, which has a very strong influence of Persian and Central Asian school of architectural style, and India itself with its own Trabeate style, it has assimilated or agglomerated all these kind of influences in its own genre with the help of its very skilled masons, architects and the craftsmen. It created a kind of an architectural history which do not see any parallel to any other country of the Islamic country of the world.